Hey people, it's me again. Anyways, not really a whole lot just like happened, but I guess I could say it was just as far as I kind of stated on one of my live journal posts recently, that this was like the first time I've actually ever really gone and done something like that as far as visiting a friend or a bunch of friends on my own. I would say as far as like my whole relationship with these new friends is kind of started off kind of funny in a way. How maybe I kind of at first felt that maybe I had no interest in them. But I think it was later they kind of come around and show me that maybe that they were just more than just that. So I should also explain it's just one of those little things that you have to start growing up and start doing these sort of things on your own. I guess I could say as far as throughout my life that I never really done a whole lot on my own because there was always somebody there to bail me out, whether if I liked it or not. What if it was just dad or mom, or what if it's just some of the teachers in special ed or in adult transition at the time. And I guess in some ways I was willing to do all these kind of stuff on my own. So as I kind of stated on my live journal that this was like the first time I actually hailed a cab, and then however I didn't, however I the friends covered the fare for it, for that matter. And then as far as getting back, I took the bus back, it was part of the way, and then I had Dad pick me up there. But part of it wouldn't really matter then, because I was probably going to eventually get back to the house, because there was, about the time the second bus came around, that Dad already was there to pick me up. So, anyways, although that second bus, it would have at least taken maybe about another 30 minutes or half an hour or so to get all the way up there. It took me maybe about a few tries to get from the bus stop there. And then there was a couple that was willing to help me catch the bus because they knew that I was wanting to catch the bus to get back home, and I kind of told them about like that was like the first time of me going to a friend on my own, and then the first time having to get back on my own. It's too bad I never really told them my name and all of that sort of stuff, but I was able to get to the bus stop and actually pay for my own fare there, and finally rode the bus all the way up to the point that I needed to transfer to the next bus, and then to the next, and then, although I wasn't really exactly sure if I was going to catch which bus it was, I realized that maybe I didn't really necessarily need that, to pick me up, because another bus that I would normally wanted to take was also stopped there at the same stop. That the two routes were at the same stop there, but whatever route that I wanted to take that would have allowed me to go closer to their house, then there was like another bus stop there that I would have to get off to go to whatever another route that goes by the main street that where my house is. And then I could just easily walk up the hill to the house from there. The funny thing is that I didn't take the bus to and from school as far as the city bus because there was no route that ran along the main street that where my house is. So I would have so it would have taken a little bit quite a way for me to walk all the way down to whatever bus that I needed to take that goes to the school and all that, you know. But I was able to do that sort of thing from going from the bus all the way to the school, and it was just about like last year that I was kind of showing mom and dad that I was able to go and take the bus all the way to whatever place I wanted to go to, whether it was the mall, that it would transfer from the school to another bus to get to the mall, and then take the same bus from the mall back home. So, anyways, I had to kind of go around and change gears here. So, anyways, as far as everything going there, that I probably had to go around and explain away how that whole new friendship with these guys are with benefits, of course. You know, I hate having to go around and say that to people there about it, especially the ones who have a hard time understanding what the concept of friendship with benefits and all that sort of stuff is. But if you ever really heard of that song, Head Over Feet by Alanis Morissette, that kind of explains sort of thing with them. And then, now, in some ways, I think I have like these relationships with guys that are always start out with like friends, and then end up becoming like friends with benefits, and maybe end up evolving into something more serious in that nature. But then the friendship with benefits also seems to be more of like an alternative to actual dating, perhaps, or maybe it could also be considered dating to some aspects. You know, the fact that I was spending time with them and getting to know them, and then in some ways going beyond the level of friendship with them by actually sleeping with them in some cases, you know. And then that was the case with these two new friends, that they were actually a couple themselves, and they had been together for a very long time. I think they just needed to have a third person to resolve any kind of sexual issues that they both had, you know. And so I would say is not to kind of be all that specific about it, because I'll eventually tell you guys about the specifics of all of this sort of thing in time, you know. But it's kind of right now I have to like do it in a rough draft there to kind of before I start delving into the issue in hand, you know. But the specifics there is that they're, in some ways, they're a little bit older than what I would normally go after as far as certain people. But I think I had to kind of allow myself to kind of at least allow certain people like them to kind of have something beyond a friendship with me at certain times, because at least for them to make themselves at least worthy of getting to know me at some point, you know, or at least to have for them to kind of to gain my trust or to gain their trust at some point, and as well as respect, you know. But I guess in some ways this sort of thing that I kind of said earlier about doing it on my own was also a test for me to gain their trust and respect, you know, because I was already in a way at the verge of like turning 30, you know. I mean, I'm gonna be like 30 in about another 2 weeks from today. I'm gonna be 30, now I have to kind of start growing up a little bit more, start doing all these things on my own without people's help in some cases. But I think at first it's just that I have to have some help from some people to at least get used to doing these sort of things. And then in some ways, I think as soon as I start to get a handle of it, they'll immediately give me space to do it on my own. But I've kind of realized that I've come a long way in the past 5 years. I mean, the past 5 years, I was kind of utterly clueless of things, about the relationships, and I wasn't really thinking more with my head as far as when it came to gauging people's interest in me, whether they were just never really were interested in me, but didn't have a nice way to say it to me in some cases, or maybe they were really not necessarily sure about me in some cases, but they wanted to keep me around as a friend or something else, just in case, But in some ways, there are some guys that seem to not be that honest enough to put that into consideration. I kind of realized, as far as having me as a backup boyfriend, I don't really necessarily mind it at all. I mean, I'm in no rush of wanting to have a relationship with anyone. It's just that I kind of wish that some of those guys who are not really 100% sure whether they wanted to date me at least be honest about it. Honest about it to state that they're attracted to me, but however they just don't know me well enough to consider a relationship, or there's just some other things that are in the way, whether if it's just bad timing on their part, or that they don't have anything. Don't have everything to get together as far as that goes, and it's just a matter of timing on some parts, whether if it's school, friends, and family, and all sorts of things that they have to take care of before they consider me as a boyfriend of some sort, or whatever the nature may be. I kind of figure out, as far as the whole situation with Drew, is that he just needed his time and space as far as to figure out his own little emotions and all that sort of stuff. But it's not like I'm gonna abandon all of that just because of that, Then I'm just gonna be patient with him on all of that, and that he has to kind of at least be able to do this sort of thing on his own terms, and his own level of comfortability. Because I can't really force him to do any of that sort of stuff, just as much as he can't do that with me. And it's more of a growing process that within time, that a person who wants to be in a relationship with me will have to at least learn to know my comings and goings, and then for them to at least allow me to know of their comings and goings emotionally, physically, and all that sort of stuff, But it's just, somehow I think it's just, the whole problem with all of them is that they're not being open enough to tell me in some cases, because I'll just end up guessing certain things, or have to at least for me to, even if they didn't tell me, I had to like read between the lines and read all that body language and all the other little actions that come out in some ways that are in play. So I guess I would say, as far as everything in the past 5 years, I managed to grow a whole lot more. I managed to fairly lose my virginity to a guy that's, well, I guess I would say not that bad, but that at least he was being patient enough with me to experience that sort of thing, at least for me to open up to him in some cases, And I think in some ways that he probably might have understood that there were some things that got in the way, whether if it was Dad not being emotionally ready to accept the fact that I'm an adult and I need to make my own decisions and all that, and to become my own person and to own my own life and all that sort of stuff. I think it was with Dad and Mom have a hard time accepting those kind of things, and for Dad is kind of holding me back, or in some ways, or Mom coddling me, and a lot of other stuff, In some ways, is that you have to be, at least be gentle but yet firm enough to kind of let them handle it out on their own. But it's just in more ways than one, you have to kind of be that sort of way with certain people. But on the other hand, it's also, you can't be too sensitive and be coddling, but you can't be too insensitive, and that you're being kind of hard on them. I think, as far as my life with a lot of these teachers that I had, there are other people, not necessarily that they were teachers, but as far as teaching me things, they weren't really being that well aware of my emotional sensitivities, or mental sensitivities in some cases, and some of them were coddling me. Some of them were at least being a little bit too hard on me in some cases, or some of them were just not being hard enough, or whatever. But I can't really expect them to be that way with me to start off. I have to expect their imperfections in some ways, as far as how they're going to train me in some cases. That one person's doting could be another person's coddling or being over-involved, and another person's under-involved, or one person's being firm, could be a person's being too rough or being too lax with someone, that sort of thing, so you can't really expect everybody to interpret these sort of things the same way, but that's just how it is in life, not everybody's going to at least see these sort of things that you're going to convey to them. You have to at least try to put out this sort of message there, and they'll interpret whatever you want to convey on their own time and own sense of comfortability, So it's one of those little things that you have to be a little bit more aware of. So, I guess I would say as far as my experience with both those guys there was pretty good, and they were pretty good with me in that nature, But I mean, while they were like with me together or with me like separately, you know. But as I could say that as far as my experience with them was like pretty good, And then I'm probably looking forward to spend more time with them as far as that goes, So it's not necessarily like I'm cheating on Drew for that matter, because they're just friends who just wanted to play with me in that kind of case, And that as far as with Drew, that he'll eventually realize things for me, Or I will eventually realize things with him, I mean, at the moment, it was like really strange that I could actually say that to those friends, that I finally had opened myself up to them about the situation, or at least just one of them. And here I managed to say about how I felt about Drew, that I love him with all my heart, and that I wasn't really being crazy about him. I mean, wasn't really being crazy, and that he was just simply saying these kind of things about that because he wasn't really emotionally ready to accept the things that happen with me in some cases, But the case with him, it's like I don't think he could ever really admit that right now, but I think eventually he'll admit that he has a lot of feelings towards me. Perhaps, maybe still does. It's just that simply he had to at least figure out what he wants to do with me, whether he still wanted to keep things going with me or not, that sort of thing. And I guess the case with me, I feel like I'm secure enough emotionally to accept that if things don't work out, that I could just easily like move on like that, as if it was no big deal, And then who knows what will happen as far as that goes. I may have him back as a friend at some point, and maybe leading back into something more, or not. Depends on how things are played out in the future. But so, anyways, I guess that's probably it for now. So, talk to you guys later.